Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Beta 400, and of course, Mr. the Fanboy. Of course, the brown skinned human. Coming back at you with another video review. This time, a different video review. This is a series of video game, webcam, video game, and console reviews. This is my review of Mortal Kombat 11, 10 XL, which is also known as 10, and Killer Instinct 2013, and my review of my entire Xbox One console, a review and rant on my Xbox One console and monitor. I was gonna do this on my birthday, but I had a small I'm at a small malware problem, which I appear to have taken care of now. So finally, this video which should have been done on my birthday will happen right now. So, with that being said, let's get started right now. Let's show this console what I'm made of. The Xbox One is one of the best and worst video game consoles at the same time. And I'm going to be talking about the positives and negatives of this console in these series of videos right here, as is the games. As is the games. As is the games. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's show these consoles and video games what I'm made of. Hey everybody, it's time for part 2 of my review of the 2013 Xbox One exclusive Killer Instinct. I've waited years for this game, and like I've said in plenty of previous videos, this game was my number one reason and sole reason for purchasing an Xbox One, because this game right here was one of the only Xbox One games and one of the only Xbox One exclusives. This game right here is one of the best and worst of all time. Yes, it's also one of the worst and weakest games
of all time and one of the weakest games in the Killer Instinct series. Had to put that biasness and nostalgia aside. In my worst and overrated video games, this had the number one spot. I went from best to worst, and this was the best on this list. I'm going to talk about why this game is the best and why it's the worst. Why it's the worst. But I've waited years for Killer Instinct to return, and what I got here was pretty good. There's several enhancements and several improvements from the original Killer Instinct, but they also made a bunch of changes from the original Killer Instinct that I did not like in this video game. First of all, the pros to this video game the the are the action, special moves, gameplay. Even though the gameplay style I do not like, the gameplay and the gameplay and oh yeah, the content and large character roster. This game has more characters than the previous two Killer Instincts combined. It has everyone from those games and several new ones, as you can see right here on on the cover on the cover right here. I have the Killer Instinct Definitive edition. I waited till this game got cheaper. I waited till this video game got much cheaper and waited till they released the definitive edition that had all the characters available from the start. All you had to do was download them, download them. So yeah, these are the quote unquote positives. The positives. Oh yes, finally, and well, I forgot. Along with the remix Killer Instinct theme, which you're about to hear in a minute, and of course the what was the other positive? Oh yeah, the graphics and visuals. The graphics and visuals. Even though I'm still blown away by the 3D models from the first two Killer Instincts board, but the graphics and visuals, especially the detail that went into the level design of this video game. Yeah, so those are all the positives. Now for the negatives. The negatives is first of all, this game, this game deviated from what Killer Instinct was about. Just like with Street Fighter 4, Killer Instinct was about speed and gameplay. Just like with Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat 2011. This game was about Killer Instinct was about speed and gameplay. They made several versions. Each all three of those series, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter, made several versions that to retain the fast-paced gameplay. Killer Instinct, Killer Instinct. Not only is this game much slower, it's not lethargic. It's not lethargic to the point of being unplayable like with Mortal Kombat 2011, but um, it's much slower than the original two Killer Instincts. Next, even though it's a 3D game, it's a side scroller fighter like Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter 4 has been doing that for several years, and they're not changing anytime soon. And Mortal Kombat 2011, I hated that change, but a lot of people demanded it. A lot of people demanded it. Here, all they did was take those two games, Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat 2011, and put Killer Instinct on them. You play the game, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. The good news is this game is better than both of those video games. Well, not better than Street Fighter 4 in the content department, but in the gameplay department, it's probably much, much, much better. But I give Street Fighter 4 more points to consider the better game of the two because their style they had it first. They had this style first, and Killer Instinct just lazily rehashed it. All they did was take Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat, but put Killer Instinct. They took the same engine, but put Killer Instinct characters and moves on it. Talk about lazy. Talk about lazy, and people need to put their nostalgia aside and recognize that yes, you're the best fighting game. You're the best fighting game on the Xbox One, and you're one of the best games on the Xbox One. You're one of the best. You're one of the only games on the Xbox One, and the sole reason for buying this overrated system right here, this video game right here. Next is the Killer Instinct. Next is the fighter. I mean, is the is one of the best fighting games of this generation. Considering there are not a lot of good fighters in this generation, the fighting pool is low in this generation. That's not really saying much. Not really saying much. So yeah. The next problem I have with this game is dated. This is a Even though this game was released in 2013, the 2010s, this game plays like an arcade game from the late 90s and early 2000s. Video games video games nowadays are cinematic with cool cinematic cutscenes. Even Street Fighter V finally added a cinematic story mode. This video game, while it has a lot of cool gameplay modes, a story campaign mode, a versus mode with one or two players, survival mode, and an online mode, and a extras unlockable um and mode where you go and purchase stuff. So while it has a lot of cool gameplay modes, the story mode in this game is absolute trash and dated. Like I said, video games now are cinematic with full length story, with full length CGI story modes and cutscenes. This right here is a classic dated arcade game with story campaigns for each character where you battle a series of characters with mixed with cutscenes like in Street Fighter Alpha and the three and Marvel vs. Capcom series. Then then of course you fight the boss character Fulgor, and after that you see what the character did after the battle. That was cool back in the late 90s and early 2000s because that was the style back then. But in the mid 2000s, when games became RPG, in late 2000s and early 2010s, I expect a cinematic based story mode. So extremely dated was this video game video game right here. The next sin to this video game was the storyline. While the storyline is pretty good, it's much bigger, much bigger than the previous two Killer Instincts. It's bigger than the two previous Killer Instincts combined. But the storyline was a reboot. I want to know what happened after the battle with Garganos in the past. What did Jago and Orchid do after defeating Garganos? Did everyone make it back home? I'm pretty sure everyone made it back home, but I want to see what happened next. Not some reboot. I want them to finish the original story first. You only have two games out and you already rebooted. Just like with Mortal Kombat, I thought they rebooted and restarted the timeline way too soon. And Killer Instinct, they started the timeline. They rebooted just after just two games. At least Mortal Kombat had about 8 video games out before they decided to reboot and change it up. Killer Instinct only had out, two out. Instead of the Killer Instinct tournament, is the storyline is a gigantic battle against Garganos. The whole storyline is similar to Mortal Kombat 6, Deceptions, Shujinko and Unaga storyline, and the Mortal Kombat 3. Like Mortal Kombat 3, it features the Killer Instinct fighters repelling an invasion from Garganos. Like Mortal Kombat Deception, there are a bunch of people um in the battle against joining the battle against coming together to fight Garganos for the right to fight Garganos, but the storyline mostly revolves around the character of Jago. Jago, the main protagonist of Killer Instinct, who was betrayed by the Tiger Spirit, now goes on a journey to fight people to purge and rid himself permanently of the Tiger Spirit and the evil that resides in him. One of the newer additions to this game was the character of Omen, who's the hero to Garganos, who possesses Jago and transforms him into his upgraded form of Shadow Jago. Next is and yeah, like I said, you fight your way through the story mode campaigns with each character. Then you fight and you have special dialogue. Several characters, with the exception of Jago and several other characters, have special dialogue with each other before the final battle with Fulgor. And you see what that character did after the battle. The ending cutscenes are pretty cool, but like I said, they're kind of dated. I wish they would have had a cinematic story mode that connects each cutscene together. And this spans across three seasons. There were 3 seasons, each releasing data cast in this game from the original two games: Jago, Glacier, Cinder, Orchid, Combo, Thunder, Fulgore, Spinal, Riptor, and of course, Saberwolf and Idol. Then from Killer Instinct 2, you got Kim Woo, Maya, my boy Tusk, Tusk, and of course, Garganos. Newcomers include Kan Ra, an Egyptian mummy sorcerer type guy, similar to Quan Chi and Imhotep from Mortal Kombat 4 and the Mummy movie, respectively. Then you got I mentioned the character of Omen, a blue demon-looking guy who is the hero of Garganos and possesses Jago and turns him into Shadow Jago. Then you got a new vampire lady character named Husaiko. Then you got an upgraded full gore model called Kilgore in this game. You got another general of Garganos who's named General Ram. Then you got a new time time based villain named Axis. I think that's her name. Axis. Then of course I think Ritz, one of the Battletoads, guest stars in this game, but he doesn't play that much of a role in this game. And speaking of minor roles in this game, you have a good guy Earth counterpart made of earth and plants, a good guy counterpart named Arganos, who is the good guy counterpart of Garganos. I think he's lame in gameplay, but he's fun to fight, and he's an awesome character. Awesome character. Which brings me to one of the things I didn't like about this game. I didn't like the change in character designs. The character designs of Jago, Glacius, and Cinder were awesome. Those were awesome updates, even though I much prefer the original designs. But these were awesome updates, as were Orchids, Kim Woo's, and Maya's. Their updated designs were awesome. But the designs of Tusk and Thunder, who probably had the worst upgrade design. His design is a horrible ripoff of the Nightwolf character from Mortal Kombat, and his looks extreme of the Nightwolf character from Mortal Kombat and the T-Hawk character from Street Fighter 4. I like the punk rock Indian look he had in the original Killer Instinct from back in the day. Then you have who else is in this game? Who else is in this game? So yeah, um so yeah, then like the change in several character skins. And speaking of character skins, oh yes, combos character skin. While retained most of the look he had in the first game, the costume he had in the first game, he's all middle aged and old looking compared to how youthful and badass he was in the original Killer Instinct to match his brand new storyline. While some story characters retain elements such as Jago and Orchid being twins, everyone has, for the most part, new wrecking storylines. Some of it I like, some of it I don't like. Being a hardcore peers of the original game, one thing I do like is the expanded storylines of Jago and Orchid, and I also like the brand new storyline for the fire character Cinder, who in this version, this is the only version he doesn't get killed by Glacius in this version. So and the extended storyline on him. So yeah, these were the pros and cons of this awesome game right here. Now, and let me tell you, if anyone wants to argue about this game being disappointing, this game sucking and being disappointing, it's like I said, it's one of the best and worst games ever. If you want to argue about it, but to prove this game sucks, Microsoft knew this game was weak, so what did they do? One of my favorite things, and my other reasons for buying this video game. This game came with a digital port of the first and second arcade ports of the Killer Instinct version. So it's been a long time. It should have been released a long time ago, but it's been a long time. But we finally got an arcade port of the original Killer Instinct. The original Killer Instinct. The Super Nintendo and Gold ports were scaled down versions from the arcade to fit on the Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 Ultra hardware. But This we finally got the arcade perfect. We have the very first one from 1994. You have the glitchy version, and then the final perfect version. Then you have Killer Instinct 2, Killer Instinct 2, which is the arcade perfect. And let me tell you, these two games right here, even though these two games they could easily pass for modern day Xbox One and PlayStation 4 games. It's not until you see how graphically enhanced games are today, and all the content where you can tell that those two games are old. I'm still blown away by those games more so than I am of than this video game right here. But yeah, so let's start off with Killer Instinct 1990. Let's start off with Killer Instinct 1994. This video game right here is one of the greatest games of all time. I think the sequel was better, but this game right here was way more iconic. When I think Killer Instinct, this is the one that comes to mind. This game was also so good it was adapted into a comic from Acclaim that explains more about the game, but contradicted it in several areas. Yeah, the storyline to this game is Ultratech sponsors a fighting and martial arts tournament featuring regular beings, but also enhanced beings, mutants, aliens, aliens, robots called Fulgor units, and beings from another world named Idol, who they've managed to come into contact through, I think, portal technology, something like that, something like that. Multiple people have their reason for entering the tournament. The plot mostly revolves around Jago and his twin sister Orchid, who are the co-protagonists of Killer Instinct. You have Jago, the lead character of Killer Instinct, who is under orders from the Tiger Spirit to enter the Ultratech tournament and destroy the Fulgor model and bring down Ultratech. Then you have Orchid's storyline, who's Black Orchid. Her real name is unknown, works for an agency, and is tasked with exposing Killer Instinct's dark secrets and bringing them to the light, ending their organization once and for all. And in the original canon, 1994, she surprisingly defeats Idol. In the comic book, is both of them do it by shoving him back into the portal, but shoving him back into the portal. The game is the game is both the game is both the game is somewhere in the middle, which is where, when it comes to the difficulty, it's somewhere in the middle. It's both hard and easy. It's both hard and easy. But if you're willing to stay with this game, you'll get it. It gets really hard when you get to the boss character, which is the only character in the game I don't like fighting. The boss character is Idol, and one of the only characters in Killer Instinct I absolutely hate. My favorite characters are Jago, Glacius, Cinder. These are my top three characters to play as, the characters I'm best at when I play this game. Followed by Combo, Thunder, Fulgor, and Fulgor. These are my top favorite characters, storylines and gameplay wise, with the first three I just named being my favorites. I liked all of the endings except for the lame comedy endings featuring Idol. Then the tournament ladder, an awesome tournament ladder. First you fight several other warriors. In the game. Then you face the boss characters, Spinal, the first sub boss character you fight, followed by Fulgor, the second sub boss, and besides the poster character of Killer Instinct, the Fulgor robot model. Then the final boss is a two-headed centaur monster, two-legged centaur monster named Idol, whom I absolutely can't stand because he's the weakest and cheapest boss in history. he busts out unblockable combos on you, and also regenerates. I struggle with him with everyone, with Jago, Glacius, and Cinder early characters I can, and full guard early characters I can beat him because I can continuously spam the same moves. It was hell fighting him with Orchid, who, even though she defeated him in the canon, she is weak compared to him in this during the gameplay mode. Then you got Thunder and Combo, who are both strong but are weak compared to all the other characters in the game. And what they have in power, they lack in speed. They lack in speed. So yeah, that was Killer. That was So now let me continue with the storyline. So yeah, you fight your way through the tournament ladder, then you see what the character did after the battle. Um, um, like I said, Orchid defeated Idol, Jago destroyed Fulgore, Glacius defeated and killed Cinder to earn his freedom from Earth, Combo supposedly defeated Riptor, and Chief Thunder entered the tournament to find his brother who competed in the previous Killer Instinct tournament, and he, I think, killed Spinal. So yeah, the comic book which expands on the lore more, features different scenarios for each character. But yeah, this was an awesome game. Next is the battle stages and fatalities. I love every battle stage in the game, with my favorites being the building levels. That's Orchid stage, the city level with her building right in front of the Ultratech building, followed by Cinder's Fire Core level, and Spinal's castle looking area. I like these areas because not only do these areas feature 3D like gameplay, they feature a camera that moves in a circle, giving the game 3D like gameplay. This is removed in the Super Nintendo version, but they retain it in the sequel. But anyway, let me continue. And then here I like all the fatalities, with my favorites being the stage fatality. If you get the guy in the right position, which is right at the end of the cliff, you get to knock him off. On Orchid stage, the guy or girl falls off the building onto TJ Combo's car in a hilarious fashion. That I remember seeing that as a kid and being blown away, and I still enjoy that fatality several years later, even when it's being performed on me. Then you got the Cinders level, where he knocks you off the cliff into a fiery grave, into a fiery lava pit grave. Then you got Spinal, who knocks you off. According to Wikipedia, it says water, but if you look at that thing, that looks like an acid pool, some Mortal Kombat 2 level stage fatality stuff is what that looks like. So yeah, that was Killer Instinct 1994. In the one of the things I don't like about the arcade version, to unlock each person's intro and ending, you have to beat the game with them. Now I can understand their ending, but their intro and bio should be available at the beginning of the game, as is their other cutscenes, like their victory pose. And you can also get to view their bios without the you get to view their intros without the cool bio story telling you why he or she is fighting. And this has one of the coolest intros of all time. I've replayed it twice for you. Now it's time for Killer Instinct 2. Killer Instinct 2 right here, in my opinion, was way better than the original Killer Instinct, but it failed to overshadow its predecessor. The original is way more iconic, but this one is way better. It made a couple of changes to characters I didn't like, such as Orchid. It got rid of her cool it got rid of her cool running tiger energy attack maneuver. This game is also harder than the previous one. TJ Combo and the two new female characters, Kim Woo and Maya, who are some of my favorite characters to play as, are much weaker in this game. Combo, he loses all of his special moves from the first one. He gains new ones because in this game, while he has a cool new look with the green military pants and the hand wraps, he loses his cool boxing gloves. Thus, some of his cool signature moves from the first game are rendered useless here. And here, Gargano's, the boss, is even cheaper than the previous boss. Here, unless you finish him off with a combo or ultra or special maneuver, he will regenerate no matter how low his level is. Even if it's down to the last drop of blood, he will regenerate, making him the cheapest boss in history. This game also has special conditions you have to do in the game. You have to perform several fatalities on various characters in order to unlock certain story mode details. The storyline of this game features the Tiger Spirit betraying Jagos and revealing that he was Garganos all along and only used him and Orchid to get rid of his old nemesis Idol, and somehow created Idol's death at the hands of Orchid created a time rip that sent the Killer Instinct building and sent the world 200 years in the past, where Jago Combo, and Orchid, who returned from the previous game, have to survive the native land and fight the inhabitants of their world for the right to face Garganos to get home. In the epilogue of this game, Defeated with Jago reveals that him and Orchid together defeated Garganos and then barely defeated the new Fulgor base model. Returning characters include Jago, Combo, Orchid, Glacius, except this Glacius is a descendant of the original Glacius with the original returning home in the previous game. Glacius, Saberwolf, Spinal, and of course Fulgor. New characters include Kim Woo, Maya, and Tusk, who are guardians who banished Gargano several years ago. My best characters in this game are Jago, Glacius, Fulgor, Tusk, and Orchid. These are the only characters I've beaten the game with so far. I've yet to beat it with Maya, Kim Woo, and Combo, whose signature maneuvers suck. I'm especially disappointed with Kim Woo and Maya, who are main characters in this game. I'm disappointed how weak they are. Just like the previous one, you fight your way through the tournament ladder with Spinal being the first sub boss. Instead of that cool building level, he is replaced with a ship, a pirate ship, which is pretty cool. But I like the level. The battle stages in the previous one were much better. This one has some previous battle stages. Jago has a cool bridge, which you can perform a cool ultra, which knocks the guy off the bridge into a watery grave. Kim Woo has a building complex, which allows you to knock her off into a volcanic wind-based grave, and then Tusk has a cool ultra fatality where he summons a bunch of rocks and keeps followed by a giant rock to fall on you and crush you. Then you have Fulgor, who has this cool robotic stage, and then you have Saberwolf, who has a cool an enhanced 3D castle of his original stage from the original game. So pretty awesome Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome game. My only problem with this game, they never made Killer Instinct 3 to show us what really happened after the battle. When we got the Killer Instinct 2013, it was a reboot. But this was my review of the entire Killer Instinct franchise. If you don't want to hear the rest of the music, turn the video off right now.